Ruben, thanks very much. Okay, so I'd like to welcome you all and thanks for turning up to the meeting. There is one apology for absence, and that's Councillor Juicy
and Councillor Bailey.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, are there any declarations of interest at all? No? Thank you very much. Okay, let's go on to item number 3 then, and those are the minutes of the previous meetings that we've actually had. So the first one is the minutes of the extraordinary meeting that was held on the 15th of May. Okay, so firstly, just for accuracy, before I bring in a councillor at this junction, but so firstly for accuracy, I thought it was absolutely okay, but any comments at all?
It is a point of accuracy that I wanted to raise.
Okay.
Just to say that this was a meeting where I gave my apologies, but obviously I was heavily involved in the pre-work for item 26, 24, the new committee structure. And the report you had before you at that meeting had 6 recommendations. And for whatever reason, that when you got to the end of the discussion, the voting didn't go to the recommendations, which is strange. When I saw the minutes, it surprised me that there was no reference to the terms. There was no reference in the minute to the terms of reference for the new committees being agreed, which was the second recommendation you had before you. Now, whereas the other 4 recommendations appear to have been missed by your meeting and therefore are not agreed, the discussion did clearly agree the new structure, and it is an inherent part of the new structure that the committees have terms of reference, which you had tabled in front of you. And therefore, although you didn't go to the recommendation in the meeting, you can't agree a structure without the terms of reference. And my suggestion for the minutes would be that the words "and their terms of reference" be inserted after new committee structure, because otherwise the new structure can't function.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I mean, I've explained to Councillor Bond that we took the vote en masse that we were accepting those as the new structure and part and parcel of it, but quite rightly, we do have to formalise this. So I would be suggesting that we all vote in favour of what Ian's just delivered. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ian. So can I have a proposer?
I'd like to propose that, please.
Well, it's my proposal, wasn't it?
Okay, and then seconded by.
I seconded it.
Okay, and a show of hands, please. Thanks very much. So the minutes of the annual general meeting that was held on the 20th of May. First for accuracy. No? Okay. So if we're all in favour of that, can I have a proposer? Mark. And a seconder, Steve. All in favour, please? Show of hands. Thank you, unanimous. Okay, so that's the second annual general meeting. I'm not sure we need to approve that, or do we need to approve that? So Catherine's put it for approval. I always thought that was just for noting because we had some presenters, but obviously that's all in order. So
it'll only be for the mayor's report.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, so for those who attended the AGM, if you're happy with that as the account. Yeah, okay, so can I have a proposer? John Watkins. And a seconder? Steph. Okay, thank you very much. And then that takes us to the planning committee. Okay, that's for information, but are there any questions on that? Any questions at all? No? Okay, well that's only for information anyway, so we'll pass on to the finance report now. Okay, so we've got the finance report in front of you. Before I ask for any questions or inquiries that you have on that, I'll just hand over to Gareth, who can give a report. Gareth.
You'll notice it doesn't contain a budget monitor this time. Basically, we've not got May's expenditure up on the process yet. So what I will do is circulate the May payments as soon as I've got them to top up, so we're back on the normal treadmill by the time we get to August. So all you've got really is a statement of where your balances are at the end of the month and your two lists of payments for March and April, because the March ones weren't ready for the April meeting.
Sure. Ian, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say on this, I mean, I don't think we need the financial report in order to know that we will face a challenge this year. Members will remember when we set the budget, we anticipated that the clerk's role and therefore the vacancy for the assistant clerk would be filled on the 1st of July, and we've obviously done better than that and filled it from the middle of May, which is good for the council but not so good for the budget. And more significantly, I suspect, we budgeted on the basis that the part-time vacancy, if you like, on the business development post would carry on through to the 1st of January next year. Now, obviously, the decision on the future of that post and its resourcing hasn't been taken yet, but I would be surprised if the council is going to leave it empty for 9 months. So we will face some quite significant budget pressures on the staffing side. Obviously, I've no idea how the rest of the budget looks, but we will obviously have some challenges to make the budget balance this year.
Because of the staffing situation, I was going to do a budget update forecast for the August meeting.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I'll just echo and concur with what Ian's actually said on there. I think we are looking at some challenges this year in our budget. The one question I was going to ask is when staff put through expenses, is this the preferred method of recording that it's just expenses, or is there an expenditure chart that it comes from?
There is a document, there is a sheet, a claim, yes.
Okay.
If somebody presumably authorises it, so each of these has been authorised by somebody.
Yes, all the payments are authorised.
Okay. Yeah, Mark.
I have just a question on the white paper. Footprint Trust, Warmer Ventnor projects.
Where's that, Mark?
On the white one.
All right.
Not with the red in.
On page 4, no,
Yeah.
Number 25.
Oh,
It says Warmer Ventnor projects.
Yep.
Yeah. They're basically what is that?
Don't know, I'll have to look at that, Steve, and I'll circulate an answer by email to you all.
Do you know?
Actually got the paper in front of me.
£700.
You all know what the Footprint Trust is, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that it was paid on an invoice from them.
I just wondered what we're actually paying for. So.
Well, it's a scheme where they provide heating assistance through equipment, etc., to local residents. And you've got an agreement with them to spend so much per annum. I think they detail, when they ask for payment, they detail what they've done and their activity since they had their last payment.
I think it's a valid question, Mark, and I think perhaps we might task Catherine just to produce some more details as to what we're getting for that £700.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions at all for Gareth?
Just a quick one. How are expenses Terry exposite, then we look into going through sort of chunks of £50, what's going on there?
So, David,
There's several entries, expenses for Terry exposite, which will be the Wellbeing Cafe, just wondering, because it seems to go through in bits and pieces, there's like 6 entries all totaling about £300. Just wondered what was going on there.
What's the expenses for? That's what you're asking, isn't it, Dave?
Basically just why is it done that way?
I don't think it's expenses relating to the purchases for sale at the cafe. I think it's expenses incurred by the staff in providing.
I think it's probably food.
Yeah, and this is where we could probably do a little bit more detail.
Yeah, I think the general issue on expenses would be, I mean, I would expect expenses to be someone's personal, mainly travel expenses, and obviously accommodation if they do have to go somewhere overnight. But normally it would be travel, so it would be travelling around the island if they've got a meeting in Newport. And I'd expect that to be put down as expenses, because I mean, we, as council, we don't need to know, you know, what the bus fare was or how much it costs by motor vehicle. But if an employee is buying something for the council and it is going to be reimbursed later, essentially that's the council buying something.
Yeah.
And the purpose of the transparency code, which we're meeting by publishing these payments, is so that both us and the public can see where the council's money is going. And using the term expenses is sort of hiding it, isn't it? I mean, taking John's point on the food, if it is food that the council's buying, it ought to say food.
I'll check on that, because my understanding
More likely is, I would think.
my understanding of the way the Wellbeing Cafe works is that the council pays for the staffing, the salary of the lady that runs it, etc.
Yes.
But all the stuff that is purchased goes through the Wellbeing Cafe account, and that is a distinct cost centre which contains all the expenditure that relates to the food and drink and any incidental expenses. But I can check up on that.
Well, I think it's the similar point to what Mark was actually saying. I know, and I totally agree with you, Dave. I think for transparency, we do need to know what those expenses are, because my understanding is the same as what Ian's outlined. The rationale would be, you know, travel expenses, you know, legitimate expenses. And if it is,
it's just not clear.
no, it's not clear. If it's for food, it needs to be labelled food so that we've got a good grasp on where the money's being spent.
But similarly, Chair, if you look at the Salisbury Gardens account, we've got Nigel stated Bishop expenses £348.86 to do with Salisbury Gardens, but that doesn't feel like it's going to be travel expenses. That feels like it's something else that ought to be badged as to what it is. And on the main accounts, we've got, again, an expenses payment of £66, which is, I mean, all my experience of dealing with expenses, they're normally not round numbers.
Yeah.
That may not be travel expenses either.
Yeah.
So we're perhaps being a little bit fast and loose with using expenses for occasions when we're reimbursing employees for actual purchases. Would be my guess.
Mr. Lockhart, are they always meeting with a new process for reporting expenses?
Yeah.
Yeah, expenses should be expenses. They shouldn't be other stuff. It shouldn't be goods or supplies or materials or or labour. It should be expenses.
You know, to be clear, we're not criticising, but it is legitimate that councillors actually know what the money's being spent on.
Yeah.
So that we can, you know, properly scrutinise that those expenses are, you know, valid and what we'd want the money spent on. It is taxpayers' money after all.
Yeah.
So I think all 3 points of the councillors have made are.
We needn't wait till the August meeting. We can review everything the way it's done by then, but we can tell you tomorrow or the next day as to what's in the expenses that are on those sheets.
That would be helpful.
Okay, that'd be helpful. That'd be great. Thank you.
Can I just query one other one? You've got here St Catherine's Church hire of church for Isle of Wight Council meeting. If you remember, we had a conversation that the county council was paying for the hire of the church for all the meetings. It's number 13 on the payments. Did they may have reimbursed us somewhere else, but certainly that they were to pay. We shouldn't have paid for that.
I'm going to follow up on that stuff. That's too good. I'm following up on that one.
Yeah, and we did get agreement, didn't we,
We did
from
indeed.
Natasha that they would pay. Yeah.
It's not our expenditure.
No. Okay.
Steve.
Just for the possible explanation of what I think might be going on with the expenses is that Nigel might have gone to Hurst to buy some stuff for use by the council, and he's rather than putting Hurst as the expenditure, because he bought it and being reimbursed, he gives it out as Nigel. So the question is, do you want it being put down as Nigel because he spent the money, he's the person who's got the payment, or should we put it down as Hurst's?
And the answer's obvious, isn't it? It should go down as Hurst. Because if you think about it, if the council wanted, the purpose of the transparency code is so that everyone can see where the council's money is going. If somebody wanted to buy something and hide it, then you just send the employee out to pay for it and reimburse the employee. But I mean, that's clearly a breach of the code, isn't it?
I think you find that's first aid stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is.
And if the payment was to Nigel, but they should also contain the information what it's for.
Yeah, exactly.
Precisely. Yeah, precisely. So we'll have some tightening up of that. Okay. Any other questions? No. Okay, if that's the case, can I have a proposer, please? Mark. And a seconder? Steve. No. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so the next is the audit report. Gareth.
The annual accounts.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, so
The situation is slightly worse than we were forecasting back in February, but not a lot. 7,000 difference from what we were forecasting. And the reserves overall for the year have dropped from 66 to 45, which is 20, which is a big figure, but if you look at it in comparison with the previous year, it's quite a small figure. But you see it more evident when you come to the accounting statements on the ADAR return. The big reason for the deficit being so large last year was that you had the loan money in from PWLB to finance the public toilets before you actually expended the money on the toilets. That's why there's a big disparity when we get to that paper between this year, like the year just gone and the year previous. The accounts that you've got there do not show a comparative figure for the previous year. They only show the figures for the year just ended. But if there's any questions on them, what I was going to do, but I didn't have a chance to do it for today because there's a kind of not conflict, but there's a difference in presentation from the figures on which you based your budget and the forecast for last year back in February, and the format of your final accounts report. And that's historic, but I thought it might be useful if I produced the accounts again, not changed, but in the format that your budget was in, so you can see directly where the changes have occurred between February and the end of March.
Coming in, Chair. I mean, the big picture is as we described at the budget meeting, isn't it? I mean, we've collected 615,000, we spent 637,000,
yeah.
And therefore we're 21,000 adrift.
Yeah.
And we've only got 45,000 left in reserve, so we can only do that twice more, and we're bankrupt. So the reserves are insufficient, and we all know that. And obviously, with the budget challenges we face this year, is going to make that increasingly difficult.
Well, on the plus side to that is we did budget this year for increasing the reserve.
We did, but obviously we also hoped that we'd have some staff. Well, not hoped. We expected we'd have some staff vacancies, which would give us some leeway, which haven't happened. Yeah. Well, haven't happened to the extent we expected.
I will do an update on that for your August meeting.
Okay.
To know where we are.
It's more that members just need to be aware that our financial situation isn't as robust as it might be.
No, absolutely. Other questions?
Can you just ask what the seats is? 2,228.
Memorial benches, aren't they? Yeah, thought so.
Memorial benches, yes.
You get money in for
Are you
them.
going to say they pay for those though, don't they?
Yes. Yeah.
The third item down is the income.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I see. It isn't the same wording, so I
Yeah.
missed it. Sorry.
I think what we take from that is again just to reiterate, we have got some challenges here. We've got some fiscal challenges, and we do have to certainly pull our belts in. There's no two ways about that. We've got to rescue that situation. That situation cannot be allowed to go on, and we'll have to do some serious thinking about that and really look at every bit of expenditure. So wherever we can save money, we need to save money. That's really, really important to get those reserves up. As Ian's quite rightly pointed out, we do that twice more, we're bankrupt. So we can't allow that to happen. If there's no further questions, I'll take a proposer. Steve, and a seconder. Ian. Show of hands, please. Thank you. That takes us on to the audit report. Do you want to say anything at all, Gareth?
Yeah, I have been the internal auditor for a period of about a decade. I had to step down this year because the internal auditor has to be independent, and I can't be because I'm not an employee at the moment. So I had to find somebody else, and it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. But eventually I found a lady that does audits for some of the bigger councils on the island, like Sandown, Freshwater, although she lives on the mainland now. She used to be the secretary of IROL, which is the job that Julie now does. And she's very good, and she agreed to do it for quite a reasonable fee. I hadn't got time to present it to the last meeting of her appointment as an auditor, as the internal auditor, so I agreed it with the chairman and wrote to Maxine Moore back in May to appoint her. And that's why tonight, if in the report, it's to consider the report that she's produced, but also to ratify and confirm that she was appointed as your internal auditor. Unfortunately, one of the themes of the external auditor this year is to concentrate on the internal auditor role. And one of the documents that they're asking for is the minute that appoints the internal auditor.
Well, I know Maxine, so I know she's good. I haven't got any questions. Anyone?
I mean, the one recommendation that the auditor makes at the end is that given the staffing issues we've had, they haven't been able to do a thorough full audit, and they're recommending an interim audit at the end of this year, if you look.
Yeah.
That's the action point for us, and either this council or the policy committee needs to decide whether to do that.
Yeah.
And it's often, I suggest it's prudent to do that, but obviously it's an extra cost that we would have.
Yeah.
The costs can be met within the existing budget for the audit, because her price has been quite low compared with what David used to pay me. But then she's doing these jobs as specific jobs. I actually did work for David outside of the main end of year internal audit work to make sure that everything, his processes, etc., were working, and that the figures on his AGAR submission were correct.
Okay. Again, I think that's a valid point that Ian raises, and I do think if we can make a note of that to be considered at the Policy and Resource Committee. It is prudent to do it, but
I would suggest you do it after September, early autumn.
And then the other action points there are really ones for us to pass on to the clerk and her team, aren't they, about the website and the transparency code.
Yeah.
So I spotted myself that we'd ceased doing that quite some time ago. In fact, I think it predated the change in the clerk.
Yeah.
And it is a legal requirement. It's not a legal requirement, we have to do it every month. I think we have to do it. I
think what Maxine was saying to me when I started the phone about it was that the AGAR documents, as they have to be under the transparency code, were there, they were on the website, but they were not in a clear place to be identified.
Okay. Yeah.
They were just stuck with the reports in the minutes of the meeting that approved the AGAR, rather than put on, there's a specific part of your website which is for that kind of thing, and they weren't in that bit.
Okay, but we are also required to publish the transactions, which I don't think we've been doing until recently.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And the document should be able to be found easily.
Yes. Well, we've got this annual governance and accountability finance chart on the website, but we didn't put them there, we put them somewhere else.
Okay. Right. Okay. Any more questions? Steve?
Yeah, obviously we are where we are in terms of the timing of auditing Maxine for this audit, but presumably we can kind of formally approve that tonight, so legislature will approve that appointment. And can we also, or should we also, confirm our appointment for her or somebody else for this year, so that we've got that recorded well in advance.
Yeah,
Yeah, sensible.
sensible.
You could do, and normally you've not appointed the internal auditor for any year, I think, until the kind of February before the audit takes place in.
I was just thinking if we
Yeah,
ask
maybe
the
you
person
can-
to do interim work, then they have to be formally appointed before September. If they're going to be asked to do work, then
Yeah, that's true.
That's valid. Yeah, absolutely. Views on that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you want to propose that then, Steve?
I would propose, if Gareth recommends Maxine Ward, I propose that we reappoint her.
Okay.
Happy to second.
Second it. And can I have a vote on that? It's unanimous. Okay. Okay. We made a note about that policy and it was, yeah. Okay. Thanks very much. Okay. So the next item is the annual governance statement. We need a decision on this. So, who wants to start? Did you want to say anything, Catherine, or at all on this?
No, just as Council Bond has already pointed out, obviously, on the reports, that we need to make sure that the website has the transparency code adhered to. So that is being addressed as a matter of priority.
Okay. Any questions at all? Okay, if there's no questions, we need to make a decision, so we can have a proposer. Mark, and a seconder, Steve Milford. Show of hands, please. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, next one is the annual accounting statement. Again, Gareth, did you want to say anything on this at all?
No, I'll just explain to you that the figure on there for last year's accounts, that you see that the word I'll initial it has got restated. That's because the cash figure that was submitted last May time by David, did not tally with what was on the bank statements that we had to submit to the auditor. And the reason for the difference was that the figure that was inserted into the AGAR included cash that was held on behalf of CSF. And what I had to do in the end was adjust it to gross the income up in the cash there to equal what was in the bank statements and introduce into the accounts a corresponding creditor to offset it, so the account's still balanced with the correct cash figure.
All right.
There you go.
Understand.
Technical thing really, but it's
Okay.
the figure now represents what was in the bank as at 31st of March 23.
Was there any reason why David did that? Do we know?
Well, the cash wasn't Ventnor's cash in essence. He was putting in part of the cash balance that related to Ventnor Town Council. Were really, because it was all in Ventnor Town Council's bank account, he should have included the total in the bank account and introduced the CSF figure that was their cash as a creditor.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Any questions for Gareth on that at all?
No impact on the accounts at all.
No. I was just checking. Any questions for Gareth at all now? Okay. Can I have a proposer then, please? Stephanie. And a seconder. David. Show of hands, please. Thank you. Okay, next item is conflict of interest statement. Questions?
It was before my time last year. I don't know whether David introduced this one. It was a new requirement last year because of something that happened out to post up north somewhere, that a councillor had an interest in BDO, who was the external auditor to many authorities across the country. So because of that, dozens and hundreds of councils now have to declare that they've got no conflict of interest with their external auditor. As simple as that. It seems a bit over the top to me, but that's the requirement.
Wow. I mean, from a perspective of being transparent, I mean, I think all councillors should declare any interests, and I believe that, you know, everyone in this council does that. The conflict comes about because when you go on to new council training, there is no legal obligation whatsoever to declare anything. There's nothing legally enforceable. You could have a direct conflict of something and it's not actionable. That's what we're told at training, which is bizarre. However, I'm just putting that out there, that obviously we're a council that want to be clear, transparent, and if there's any conflicts of interest, you know, that we come forward, and I've got no problems with this recommendation at all, but it is a bizarre situation.
Yes, but we got no choice really over the barrel, because if we don't do it, then they will qualify our accounts, because we're not.
Absolutely. Okay. Any questions on that at all?
You know, Ian, some time ago come out of this, we all had to do some new, fill in each new forms that Ian was going to design, to basically say what we probably own and what we belong to, etc., etc. I think you could amend.
I wasn't going to design any forms. The forms were issued by the government, standard
okay,
form.
But you come up with some ideas that we should be more transparent in you.
There is an outstanding action point in relation to the members' code of practice that never got done under the interim clerk for various reasons, which we can return to at the policy committee. I think would be the right place.
Okay.
I think there's a reference in the internal auditor's report that the asset register is a list of assets and it does not contain any values, which in theory it should do. But then again, it's cost. How do you get to those values? Do we pay a surveyor to come round and value everything? What does that achieve?
Okay. I do think it's a good suggestion that Ian's actually said. You know, perhaps we need to discuss that at the Policy and Resources Committee. Yeah.
Can I just ask, just out of curiosity, the definition of smaller authority? Because I know the smallest category in the government defined is below 25,000. Well, we're way above that.
Yeah, but we're still a smaller authority in a different context. We're still called a smaller authority, even though we have an intermediate audit, because our expenditure is over 200,000.
Yeah, but is there an upper threshold, or does it include all parish and town councils?
We're all covered by the umbrella smaller.
All parish and town councils, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Confusing.
Any questions? No? Can I have a proposer then, please? Ian, and a seconder? Steve Milford. And a show of hands, please. Thank you, that's unanimous. Okay, the next item is Ventnor Day. You've got the report in front of you, but I dare say that Catherine will want to say something on this. I will say that I was heavily involved in it, so I knew from an operational point of view what was going on, but I'll hand that over to Catherine. I think she's the best, most appropriate person to say something on this.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, so we've had a couple of considerations to make around Ventnor Day. Firstly, the general election being called gave us a slight difficulty in that the Isle of Wight Council generally hire out chairs and tables to us for Ventnor Day, which they are no longer able to do due to the count at Medina. So that was the first challenge that we faced, which we could have potentially overcome. However, we were then met with the works on the Newport Road, which Southern Water changed the dates from beginning on the 17th of June to now beginning on the 24th of June, with a minimum closure of 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and no guarantee that it would reopen on the 5th of July. So, having done the risk assessment in light of that, the conclusion was that we weren't able to have Ventnor Day it safely or successfully. Partially, we have traders bringing their wares, and indeed it would have been their own tables as well, on the 5th of July. A lot of those traders having to get through the road closure as well. So there were a lot of issues to consider there, but mainly it was the risk of having diversions and having vehicles going up and down different roads that probably would affect Park Avenue, and we're trying to unload vehicles at the same time. So we did look at a number of dates. However, being the summer, it meant that we would be clashing with a lot of other events that have already been booked. So we were offered to join the Children's Fair on the 16th of August, which is a Friday, and it is part of Carnival Week. And that is actually something which has probably got us some more stall holders. As of the report I've had today, we have 41 stall holders confirmed, which is a few stall holders up from the 6th of July. We're still waiting to hear from about 20 stall holders. We have a full lineup on the bandstand and putting green stage with stage management covered. That was another concern that we had enough cover on stage management and logistics. And we have 4 catering outlets that have been confirmed. So the change of date doesn't seem to have proved too much of an obstacle in terms of having a full lineup. So the recommendation would be to allow Ventnor Day on this occasion to be moved to Friday the 16th of August.
That's during the day.
It would be during the day. It would be the same timings, 12 till 6 at this point.
I'll just say a little bit on that. Obviously, Catherine and the team, shared every different turn of the challenge that they actually had. Health and safety did play a big part in it. We couldn't have had it on the 6th. It would have been chaos. That would have been an health and safety nightmare. So I know that the team looked at it very thoroughly. It's not ideal, but it might well be ideal. We don't know. We've never tried a Friday before. It is in August, and I know that there's councillors around this table that like an August date better than a July date. And I, am very, very pleased that the team have managed to, overcome the challenges, and that we've got Ventnor Day going on as opposed to cancelling it, because that would have been the other viable alternative. There really wasn't any other date in July and August or even September. I know, because Catherine looked into it in great detail. So that's all I will say. So I support this, but open discussion.
So can we ask, is the format virtually the same? We're using a model that we've had.
Yes, that's correct, Councillor Toogood. We are using a format. Obviously, there is something else that will be happening up there, but in terms of the format, we are looking at logistics being the same.
Mark?
Yeah. Having been the vice chair of the Carnival Committee, obviously I've been kept up to speed with this myself as well, and I know how much work the staff have put into this. I think combining it with the Children's Fair and the Ventnor Day together, it could be more successful than just Ventnor Day on its own. So, and I fully support it.
Okay. Any other comments at all?
I'm just commenting from my other point of view, where would be one of the stallholders, but also it's the same weekend as the Gaelic Festival, which we are booked up for.
We've had only a few drop out as a result of the setup.
And also Carnival, which means we're in a fairly unique set of circumstances, but I don't know if our group would handle 4 extra days on the 1 week. So I mean, that, in theory, the move makes sense to me. Whether we, as an organisation, can accommodate it is, well, we'll try to. But
totally understandable. Totally understand. Yeah. Any other comments at all? Okay. If there's not, can I ask for a proposer? That's Jim and a seconder, Mark. And show of hands, please. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item is there is a current vacancy on the Business and Community Committee, and as you can see on that paper that Councillor James Toogood has expressed an interest in joining the Business Community Committee. So it's basically to endorse or not endorse Jim's. Ian?
But yeah, the only question I had, Chair, was obviously we have a vacancy on the council, but the process of filling that is going through at the moment. And the sort of principle we discussed and agreed when we put the new structure together was that each council would have the chance to serve on 2 committees. So as and when a new person is elected or co-opted, whichever it ends up as, I think the election is
Send as a general.
So it's going to be an election. We will need 2 spaces for them. How many vacancies do we have at the moment?
How many vacancies are on the community committee, do you know?
Well, in total, how many vacancies do we have?
There's some on some of
There's one on planning.
There's one on
Right.
planning.
And there's one on community.
So we will need. So when the vacancy is filled, we will need, in fairness, in terms of treating them the same as everyone else, we will need 2 spaces, which would suggest this will be an interim appointment rather than a permanent one.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point, Ian. Yes.
Because we can't create new places. We've got a fixed.
Yeah. So there will be an election on the 4th of July because there are 2 candidates, and that is a very, very valid point. That had slipped my mind, Ian. So thanks for bringing it up, Mark.
Can I make a suggestion that we hold fire on this until the election's been done?
Well, that's a valid proposal. Yeah. Valid proposal. Any other opinions? Jim, have you got a view on this at all?
No, not really at all. I'm pretty easy going. So whatever it be, really, as simple as that.
Yeah.
I mean, Ian's got a valid point. I've got to
Yeah.
We need to treat everyone the same, really. I don't mind doing it to fill a gap, temporary, and then come off.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why Jim can't make up the numbers while we've only got 4. But obviously the election isn't that far away, so
It's not.
I'm comfortable with Steve.
Okay, that's fine.
Fill a gap.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a meeting coming up this Wednesday at 5:30. So I think the decision we need to make then is that we will vote on the interim arrangement of Jim serving on serving at that meeting until we have someone else serving on the council.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that very much.
and in fact it would be until the first council meeting after the election of the new person,
It would.
because we can't appoint anyone to committees without a council meeting.
That is correct, in August. Yeah.
So it could go on till, it would go on to the August council meeting.
It will go to the absolutely. Yeah, okay. So that's a valid proposal from, I can't remember if it was Mark or Ian.
With an amendment rather than the proposal.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay, so we're voting on Jim serving on that committee in an interim capacity until at least August.
Well, until the first council meeting
Yeah,
after
till the first
the
council
election.
meeting, yeah.
Because we might,
Which will be in August.
well, unless we haven't needed an extraordinary for any other reason.
True. Yeah. Okay, so on that basis, do we have a proposer?
Well, I'm happy to-
Okay, so Ian, and then seconded by Dave Logan. Show of hands, please. Okay, that's carried. Thank you. Okay, so the next item is 2 motions. So Councillor Hutchinson is not with us tonight. She's unfortunately unwell, but she has submitted 2 motions. So it's entirely proper of us if somebody wants to nominate these motions. If nobody's prepared to do that, well then obviously we can carry the motions forward until Councillor Hutchinson is here. So what would you like to do? First one on Momo May.
But we're in June.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not an issue.
Yep. What she's doing is so that she enshrines it for future.
For future.
Yeah, yeah.
I personally think we should speak to some vets before we look at that because there's been a lot of publicity that long grass affects dogs and cats and animals. It ticks in their ears and their eyes, etc. So I think we should ask for some advice, because you see County Hall have really carried on in many places, but I think we should get some advice from a vet to see what their views are on it.
Mark?
One plus of No Mo Mate is a report that was just out last week, and the bumblebees have now come off the endangered list because because they're not mown in May.
And you can consider it as well.
Yeah.
So we've got two considerations there. Really.
Okay.
I think as Julie is the expert on this and knows a lot more about it, I think it would be wrong of us to talk about it without her input, because I know she knows a lot.
Yeah. I would propose that we put this one on the back burner until
Well, it's not till next
Okay.
May we have got the time. And I must admit, my thoughts are was to maybe do it in fewer areas, but rather than just do May, have it there. Because I mean, the last time we did it, we had all this up with the, and then second week of June, everything's hacked down to as if it never happened, you know.
Okay.
So my thoughts on that is that maybe we take smaller areas, but leave them be.
Okay, that's a valid proposal. Is everyone happy with that? And Julie isn't here to. Okay then. So
Definitely.
I'll just see a show of hands that we've agreed on that. Okay, thank you. So that's going to be carried forward. Again, there is another motion from Julie also about the car boot sales. If you read this, I do have strong opinions about this. But again, it's entirely up to you if somebody wants to propose this. In this present format, in this wording, I would have to oppose this going ahead, simply because to have a car boot sale when we are giving free car parking in Dudley Road on a Saturday defeats the object. We're giving free parking to increase the footfall, to increase business and more people into the town. And if we are going to take up half that car park, if not, 70-80% of it, we're defeating the object. And we will get a backlash, and I just think it defeats what we're trying to do, get more people in. So I would have to strongly disagree with this in this format. I think there are better locations, but they are problematic because we probably have to go lobbying the Isle of Wight Council. The idea of having a car boot sale is fantastic. It's about recycling, it's about bringing people into the town, but this location is not right, I feel.
It doesn't have to be Dudley Road car park.
No, it doesn't. No.
The road situation is so problematic at the moment, we don't really necessarily want to exacerbate it, do we?
No. But, your views.
Also, we have got Ingram's Yard, which is new for this year, so it's not that we're standing still. We are moving forward with things.
We are. Ingram's Yard's not exactly. It's not a sort of car booty sort of feel about it or vibe about it. But I understand where you're coming from.
It's a new attraction.
We're debating it, and it hasn't been moved.
Yeah.
And if it isn't moved, it's withdrawn.
That's right. Yeah.
So if no one's prepared to move it, there's no debate.
There's no debate. Yeah. So, Steve.
I was going to suggest that we don't debate it, we ask Julie to go away and think about other proposals, like Sunday or other.
That's fine. That's a valid proposal. Okay. We all agree with that? Can I show of hands?
Well, if the motion isn't moved, it isn't on the agenda. So
no, but we're agreeing that we're going to withhold it and let Julie do some further work on it, so that Julie can come back. Well, I think it's courteous to actually know that as a body of councillors we've actually said, can you go and do some further work on it?
I think it's courteous to tell her to go and rethink it because we're going to vote against it.
Yeah. Okay. So next item is a schedule of full council meetings. So that's just information. And then there's obviously exclusion of Public and press, well, we have got no public and press here.
I'll be public at the item. It's on information.